Okay, so welcome to Electric Elevation. Today we have our special guest, Mario Bueno. How are you?
That's perfect. I'm blessed. Thank you. How you doing?
Good, good. So why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and exactly what you do?
Currently, I'm a graduate assistant at University of Michigan Dearborn as I pursue my master's in criminology and criminal justice with a concentration on public administration.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm a graduate assistant for the director of that department, which is former judge, retired judge, Don Shelton, who blessed me with the opportunity of working for him as an assistant there as I pursue this degree prior to COVID, obviously, right? So
Okay.
currently it's for the most part online. I've also just newly been appointed to the Youth Justice Fund through ICANN, which is a campaign to end an advocacy network for youth. It's an initiative and campaign advocacy for the youth network to end juvenile life nationwide, right? So they donated some money to the Youth Justice Fund, who's a new fund, a new organization, nonprofit aimed at helping with the prisoner reentry of juvenile lifers. You're talking about juveniles who served 20, 30, 40 years in prison. And so I've been appointed part-time as a community engagement coordinator,
Okay.
which is basically boots on the ground for the Youth Justice Fund in terms of customer interface, meeting the clients not only face-to-face, but also meeting them in terms of their tangible and intangible needs. Whether, when you come home, you lack, whether it's a place to live. The Youth Justice Fund, for example, just blessed a juvenile lifer who served almost 30 years in prison with a new vehicle. He's been home a year, he's working, he's got his asbestos certification. So, to the measure in which you give, so shall you receive. So he's blessed with a vehicle, and I kind of felt like Oprah over on the east side blessing him with that check last week. So I've been doing that for a week and a half. And I'm also obviously a father, and COVID has really making me to a husband, should I say. So yeah.
Okay.
So all those titles.
All right. So we're gonna rewind a little bit and go back to how you actually got into those positions that you are in today. So we'll start off by talking about a little bit of your past and what happened that led up to where you are today.
Yeah, it's been a journey, should I say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Odyssey, 20-year voyage. Um, so at the age of 16, unfortunately, I embraced belief systems that thought it was inherently okay. It was okay to rob drug dealers and sell drugs. And so during that mindset, during that frame, during that lost youthful age, I unfortunately robbed and killed a man, and for which I was convicted and went to serve 20 years, almost 20 years, from the age of 16 to 36, in 16 different adult prisons and the Michigan Department of Corrections, and I'm 3 years in solitary before the age of 21. And I say all this not to impress, but to impress upon you, right? Not to impress, but to impress upon
Mm-hmm.
where I was in relation to my thinking and where I am now.
Okay. So what led you to start doing what you were doing?
Great question. So before I was released, I was pulled in by an organization that was focused on taking the most influential men on a prison yard, not for the good, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
And seeing in us greater than we could see in ourselves, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and having us trained in the tenets of conflict resolution, of mediation, of facilitator training, and servant leadership.
Okay.
And if you pass through this training, you would eventually become certified in mediation through Jackson Resolution Center. And this was under the umbrella of an organization and mentors, Tom Adams and Jessica Taylor, who gave us a space in conjunction with the deputy warden at the time, Deputy Warden Will Riley. And this is very, very progressive thinking. You have to understand something. It's to put into position prisoners who have, I think, oratory and leadership skills,
Mm-hmm.
and train them in hope, right? Hope that they would lead the rest of the prisoner population not astray, right? But I think into self-government. That is the most powerful form of government, self-government.
Okay.
I mean, we are created as gods, right? Unfortunately, we're told different. So I was in this program and pushed through the ranks. I think I'm the byproduct of a group of men that are much greater than myself, and they, so there's a lot of guys that whether it's Rick Speck, Lucy Barra, Cameron Coates, Brian Jones, we call him BX. He was my trainer. So you become like the ones you're around the most. Well, I happened to be placed in this space and given the permission, and not only the permission, but we were expected to do what we were doing, to not only be trained, but then to teach.
Right.
Right? And I found that you only begin to become that which you've learned through teaching.
Absolutely.
Right? So you're talking about a guy who's kicked out of 9. I was in 16 different adult prisons, but I was kicked out of 9 of them. And I'm not saying this to brag, but I mean, who's not going to go through some sort of adjustment stages, so to speak? Right? So towards the end of the prison sentence, I'm teaching 3 classes of 17 to 25-year-old, high risk, most of them gang members, how to resolve internal and invariably external conflict.
Okay.
And so I'm called off the prison yard and said, look, the warden gave you all your good time back, and you're going to see do you waive your 30-day notice to see the parole board in 13 days?
Okay.
And so sitting beside me was Rick Speck and Cameron Coates, who are the co-founders of Lucky, the organization that you'll ask about in a minute. They're right next to me. These were my mentors in prison. This is a true story.
Okay.
Right? So I look at him, and I looked at the counselor. I said, get the hell out of here. And he said, no, bro, you're going home. And I looked, because I had never, from 16 to 36, I had never really thought about going home.
Wow.
Like you asked me before, how'd you survive? I said, God. Because, I can't take the credit anymore. That's why I'm here, trying to take the credit. Right?
Right.
But so it was literally, I never thought about going home. I thought about becoming the strongest and the best version of myself day in and day out. Right?
Okay.
Right? So I see the parole board. Obviously, I got my parole, and then I come home. And so when we came home, there was no space to continue to do what I was doing already. See, so prison it's not about philosophy. It's not about training a guy in anger management or whatever crime you have and giving them 3 to 5 hours a week. There's 168 hours in a week. So we're talking about fundamentally, you might take anger management for 2 hours a week or 4 hours a week, and then go into an environment that doesn't respect those rules of engagement, which you learned in the classroom.
Right.
So what we did fundamentally, in which Snyder shut the whole prison down to meet us because it's unheard of, there was 30 of us transformed men who were teaching the 1,800-man prison yard. What we did, we were sat down by the deputy warden. He says, I'm not getting the numbers I want with those 17 to 25-year-old high-risk offenders. Mm. And I said, of course you're not. He said, well, why not? I said, because there's 168 hours in a week. I said, you give them to us for 5 hours a week in the classroom, in the school building. I said, but then there's A through K housing units. Okay. Right? So we're talking about A through K. We disperse them into housing units that don't respect those rules of engagement. That if a guy steals your property, what are these young males going to tell them? You hurt my feelings? Right? So he said, what do you need? I said, we need our own environment.
And more time.
Well, we need our own environment because that we teach in the classroom, but now you're able to apply that what you learned in a safe environment that is conducive to practicing that which we're preaching. Okay. Right? So now you have action. Now you don't have philosophy, you have physics. Right? So an object in motion stays in motion. For sure. Right? So whatever you're doing before you come home, invariably that's what you'll continue to do. Okay. So that's why we're doing what we're doing, literally. Found something of more value. So anytime you find something of more value, obviously you'll put down whatever's in your hand. Right. And so when I found that space to be able to pour into other young men who I myself was, I put down the hustling, the poker, the stuff I was doing in prison that I shouldn't have been doing.
Right. So prior to you getting to that point, when you were kicked out of the 9 different prisons, what were some of the things that were causing you to get kicked out? Were you getting into fights before your mindset changed?
Yeah, my milkshake brought all the boys to the yard. Right? No. So, no, thank God I was, one thing my mom told me, she had expressed, she said, the only thing that brings me peace is I know you're kind of crazy, mijo. My mom's from Cuba. Okay. But anyway, the point being is I could always take care of myself in the streets. And I ask a lot of people, they say, well, because you see movies and you see this and you see that. And I always ask them, I say, if you take a lion out of a jungle and put them in the zoo, what are they? It's still a lion, right? Mm-hmm. So, boom. So I was in there, but however, the harm that I experienced in there was really self-inflicted. I was angry. For several years, I still blamed, whether I blamed people that told on me or whether I had mommy and daddy issues.
Yeah, you were really young.
16. So I left. I was living at my mom's house when I left. Mm-hmm. Right? So I obviously, and then you're talking about the maturational physiological challenges. Like at 16, you don't know who you are. You don't have an identity. So now you're so impressionable that anyone around you can tell you who you are. But thank God I came with strong roots. So I had a mother and father. Obviously, I experienced challenges during our childhood, and I think normal challenges of people in lower socioeconomic statuses, right? In the hood, right? So born and raised in Pontiac. I never went without. My mother was always there for me. Stopped talking to daddy during the teenage years, and I think during that rite of passage that most of us minority males miss, that rite of passage, it was during the New Jack City Men's Society, right during them days. You're talking about 92, 93, 94, 95, and it glorified and it highlighted this way of life in the streets that I gravitated towards. So I had an older sister that was 3 years older than me, gorgeous, young Latina that was dating the heads of these gangs and dope dealers. So I'm good at numbers.
It was appealing to you.
It was highly appealing to me. But I'm learning as I have a 4-year-old, I'm learning that any attention is appealing, right? Mm-hmm. So that's how I found myself in that situation. My thinking continued to digress. I continued to display riskier behavior. And although, be it I was forewarned time and again, I think, the soil does affect the seed, right?
Now, because you were actually like 12 when you first started selling.
I was going on 12, going on 13. I bought my first couple ounces of marijuana, 12 years old, started selling them just because I seen, got a couple $100, might as well make it into 600.
Okay. Now, you were previously a stick-up kid as well. So you, what was your mind? So you weren't scared, you just knew that what you wanted and you were going to do what you had to do to get it. Like,
at 13, before my father and I took kind of a hiatus from communicating, I think we both, at 13, the young male in me became more stubborn, so to speak, and so we stopped speaking. But he did get me into Japanese style martial arts class, and so I started fighting at 13, and I was highly aggressive at that age, and so my sensei, God rest his soul, he wouldn't let me fight young men my age. Even at 13, 14, I would fight older grown men.
Okay.
So by 15, 16, I'm literally fighting grown men who are established in the arts and semi-pro boxers. And so I was highly aggressive. I was trained literally. I would travel to Tennessee to fight, but I was trained literally to use adrenaline to push me through it. Okay. So that's what I meant by I was blessed when I did go into the system that I was able to take care of myself. And once again, I'm not bragging, I'm not a braggart, but unfortunately when I would get hurt in prison, it was because I was trying to hurt somebody else. Okay. And usually it's because of ego, and it was usually because of things I had yet to learn as a young man, like things you don't do, so yeah.
Okay, so tell me about you were in solitary confinement for a long period of time.
The first time I was in solitary was a result of my age. At 16, the judge in Oakland County mandated me to Oakland County Jail. And since I was only 16, they couldn't put me in the bullpens with the general population. And so I did 387 days consecutive in solitary. I had 2 trials, so that's why the year-long stay before my conviction and sentence. And then when I went to the Michigan Department of Corrections, I spent a couple of years through several rounds, shall I say, through several mishaps. In 1999 alone, I was in 3 different solitary confinements. I was angry, when I was in solitary for that 387 days. And
how many hours I mean, do they let
That
you
that
out?
in the Oakland County Jail, they wouldn't let you out. They would let me out maybe twice a week for a 15-minute shower, but because that was the county jail, they weren't struck. You know, I was in the healthcare department. They're not set up for juveniles, let alone, you know, a long stay. It's set up to where you're supposed to be out of there within 6 months if you have a felony, and you get convicted and sentenced, right? But I had the hung jury the first trial, and so I ended up having a second trial, and so they weren't set up. I think today, there would be probably a lot of people speaking out against such conditions for juveniles. You know.
So describe the room for the solitary confinement. There's nothing in there, right?
Yeah.
Just white walls.
Well, no, they weren't white.
Just the walls.
No, they were supposed to be white. Excuse me. Originally, they were white. But no, it was because this was the county jail, and this was the healthcare department. They want to keep me separated. This was more like detox cells, right?
Okay.
So there weren't bars. There's a small TV outside the window. It was mainly for healthcare and detox. So, but solitary in prison, in Department of Corrections, they vary. They differ. I'm be honest with you. I was in so many different solitary confinements. They all differ. They all vary. It depends on the age of the. For example, you could be talking about Jackson behind the wall. That's just 4 or 5 block, you know, or MR, Michigan Reformatory, or you could be talking about a new facility that's, you know, a lot nicer. It's hard to say a solitary is nice, but the walls are white.
So what did you think about to pass the time? You just
I tried not to think. I read a lot. I read a lot.
Yeah.
I read so much. I can tell you this. So towards the end, when we were mentoring the young men and the 17 to 25-year-olds, a lot of these young men that were disciplinary problems, they didn't have the family support, the family structure. They didn't have money. Like if you don't have, even in prison, if you don't have money, you know, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. So what I would do is I would use at my television, because I wouldn't watch TV. Now I might leave it on, for example, like the Real Housewives or something, because I'm just looking at the pictures, right? While I'm saying, yeah, you have the pictures, right? But I wouldn't literally watch and absorb and digest the kind of, I would protect my ears and my eyes. You know what I'm saying? Like I would try to focus on the information that's going inside me, because I knew that whatever I'm digesting is gonna come out.
Okay.
And I already seen what I didn't like coming out of Mario early in my prison sentence. So towards the end, I would use my television as a carrot, right? As an incentivizer for the young males, because usually the deputy warden would assign a young male as my bunkie, which they wouldn't want to be my bunkie, because usually they were already my student.
Right.
So they wouldn't want to be my bunkie, right?
Act good.
Right. So, but I would use my TV and say, look, if you read this book for an hour, I'll let you watch my TV for 2. And I usually start them out as like, as a man thinketh, you know, think and grow rich. But I fundamentally, I was trying to utilize information that would transform the way they think. Like there's nothing more powerful than a changed mind.
Absolutely. Okay. So let's talk about the mentorship that you do right now in Detroit. You do schools.
Right now, we're not doing schools right now. Luck Inc., unfortunately.
I mean, right, because of COVID. But
well, no, I'm talking about even because of our felony background. However, Chief Godby, who's the new chief of DP SPD or something like that. I forgot the acronym for the Detroit Public Schools PD Police Department. Chief Godby is felon friendly. We actually, the group of men and myself, I was teaching when Chief Godby had came through, I think one time, into Jackson Cooper Street as the chief of police before he had gotten let go.
Okay.
Now he's back on as the chief of, basically the chief for the Detroit Public Schools.
Okay.
They have their own separate PD. So he has expressed an openness to talking about potential programming. Luck Inc., the nonprofit, we have trained in River Rouge. And personally, I was appointed to the House of Representatives about 4 years ago, in which the job function and the responsibility given to me by my direct supervisor, which was at the time State Representative Harvey Santana. He saw in me more than I could see in myself, and he said, look, you can connect with this group of young men. It was the 9th district. We're talking about Cody, Dixon, McKenzie, Carver. We're talking about all the schools on the west side. And so I went in there, and they gave me they call them the high-risk kids. I call them leaders that have not been polished yet. Like everybody wants a diamond, right? But no one wants to go through that pressure, right? And then that polish and then that cut, right? So these young this code that they gave me. We just had to put them through pressure and polish and a cut. So, but our history as Lucking, unfortunately, allures these young men, just like Men's Society, New Jack City allured me back then.
Right.
Well, so when they would discover our history, they would give us permission, which is the pinnacle of leadership, because they don't care what position you got. Just ask them substitute teachers that go over to Dixon over on exit 9 Murder Mac Joy Road. Ask them whether the title of substitute teacher goes far with these children, right? So by the grace of God, they would give us permission. Right? Or we would develop an organic mentoring relationship, and then we would be able to influence them. But we used chess. So we had chess clubs. It was phenomenal. And so, but right now we're not doing that. However, right now I have been appointed by the Youth Justice Fund to basically be a mentor and a customer interface. I'm a community engagement coordinator for juvenile lifers who are newly released and who have been home for several years in the Tri-County area.
Okay.
So Youth Justice Fund, for the most part, originated in where's Ann Arbor at? What county is it? Washtenaw County, correct. They originated there. But I think they've seen the numbers, for the most part, is the Tri-County. Especially, we're talking about Wayne County and Detroit. We're talking about most of the juvenile lifers that are, by the grace of God, being released from, we're talking about 40 years in prison from the age of 15. Could you fathom that? So most of them are centered, unfortunately, in Wayne County. And then second, I believe, is Oakland County, where I came from. And then third is Macomb. But now the Youth Justice Fund has representation through hiring of me for the next 12 months, part-time, But, I do this for free.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's
so
awesome.
They pay me. It's a blessing.
So, other than group settings,
Mm-hmm.
do you take like referrals? Say a mom, her son just got out,
Mm-hmm.
and he needs some direction. Do you do one-on-one?
Great question.
Okay.
I've gotten probably 5 calls this week already.
Okay.
In which we are setting up one-on-ones. So I know you haven't asked about the book yet.
Right. That's coming.
So yes, I do that, and I'm through my website, mariofbueno.com.
Okay.
Mario the Reform Expert. You can look me up and you can reach me through, you can message me through social media, and I do respond almost immediately. But it's a process, and it's a process in which I'm now setting up in relation to the workbook I've done, and I'll let you ask about that.
Yeah, so we'll go to that. So you are the author of Never Going Back,
Mm-hmm.
which is a successful re-entry workbook program. So go ahead and...
Well, the workbook, so mind you, I told you the story of coming home,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I seen the parole board, and they within 90 days I'm going home, but about 30 days before that I get called in by a re-entry coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
I sit across from her, educated person. She asked me, she says, "So what do you need?" And I looked at her, and mind you, I had never thought about going home. And so I told her, I said, "If you don't know what I need, then we're in a world of trouble." Right? We're in a world of trouble. So the first, I'll be honest with you, I've been home 6.5, it'll be 7 years on January 22nd.
Okay.
And to say that it's been challenging is
The least bit.
is putting it kindly, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're talking. I came home after 20 years of never being able to lose a verbal or physical fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could never lose a verbal or physical fight now, right?
Mm-hmm.
To try to get to the stage to understand that I don't have to win every fight, and to now understand, almost going on 7 years, just now realizing that there is no fight.
Wow.
That I already won.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm at that stage of my life now. I'm just beginning to enjoy my freedom. Just now. Going on almost 7 years. Almost 7 years. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to better prepare those that are coming behind me. I told, there's almost 200 juvenile lifers released. And I helped organize an organization aimed at releasing them with my parents in our basement. 8 years before I got released, 7 years in 2006 and 7, I did this, right? By the grace of God. I was self-motivated. I mean, economics 101, self-interest run the markets, baby. Mm-hmm. That guap, right? But my guap was in freedom. I already had 11, 12 years in. If the law would have changed, I would have got out. So I had self-interest. I'm not going to tell you I was motivated by, I'm a purist at heart. At the time, I had self-interest. But I knew that if I fought collectively with a front of people, if we organized, then we could change the law, which is draconian. Which, I mean, you're talking about sending, they try to send Nathaniel Abraham at the time, 11 years old, to prison for the rest of his life. Come on, man. Right. I mean, not only that, you look at the numbers statistically. Blacks and browns are I mean, 60-some% more likely not only to be convicted and sentenced as an adult, but even to be tried, even be investigated, right? So I wrote this book because all the challenges that are, I think, normal. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example what's normal. First and foremost, you're talking about grown men who are released from an environment at the strongest point in their life. Mm-hmm. To be released in an environment to which they're now at their weakest. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, I couldn't order from a menu. I tried to order cheeseburger the first week I was home. I cussed the waiter out. I said, man, just bring me a cheeseburger. Right? What kind of bread you want? What kind of cheese you want? How do you want the meat cooked? I'm looking around like, I don't know how to answer these questions. A cheeseburger, Ken? A cheeseburger. It shows you how ill-prepared we are for the real world. Am I astute? Am I extremely wise in many areas? Yeah. But the most simplest areas of social interaction, of having the proper interpersonal skills to communicate with my wife, let alone a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I want to prepare men who have and women who have no idea whatsoever is on the other side of that fence for them. Right? The grass is always greener, right? Several weeks before I was released, the group of young mentees that I had asked me, said, "Mario, are you afraid to go home?" Because they seen a transition within me. And I looked at them and I thought deeply. I said, no, I'm not afraid to go home. I said, I'm afraid to lose that which I found. Contentment. Okay. I was content, right? Mm-hmm. I had no clue what was on the other side of that fence. And so I think that if the men and women coming home can be prepared, first and foremost mentally, right? You got to prepare the mindset. You can't just be shocked. It's like going from 100-degree weather and just jumping into a bucket of ice, a pool of ice. You have to have a transition. Was it great that I was able to come home to my mom? Yeah, because I needed closure. I was supposed to go home somewhere else. I said, I want to go home and have closure. But should I have? No. You have to go through a decompression phase. You're talking about men who have been conditioned to be in combat 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they don't have a barracks with their homeboys. They don't have a barracks with their battalion. You know what I'm saying? Like, you going prison to prison with you alone. Like you was born naked. Yeah, in prison, you alone. Right. And so the only thing that God said that was not good, that he created, was for man to be alone. Right? So you have a group, a population who, for the lack of a better term, is broken. Right, it's broken, right? But guess what? Even broken crayons still colored, right? Mm-hmm. So this book is an approach to trying to make these phenomenal individuals who I think went through that pressure, right? Mm-hmm. They went through that pressure. They're a diamond. Don't get it twisted. But now they got to go through a polish and then the cut.
And then you were also stating that this is a book that they need to get prior.
Definitely prior. But at the end of the day, I'm be honest with you. I think it's information that if it's it's not only for those who are coming home. Hopefully 6 months, 3 months before they come home, right? Okay. If they're home now, definitely get it in their hands. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely for friends and family members as well. Okay. It's definitely for friends and family members.
That's good too, because sometimes you may not know what someone is going through. They might have it bottled up inside, and the family can help.
Well, I'll be honest with you. My family, they not only are those returning ill prepared, but family members. If we're ill prepared, mm-hmm. how much more so our family members, right? So to say that like, I unfortunately, I have learned through trial and error. I have learned through, I think, harming those closest to me, not knowingly. Like, you are literally conditioned to solve all stressful confrontation with aggression. So when you come home and you are submerged into a new culture, right? A new culture, you're not aware that you have transferred over into a new culture that requires a different set of skills to resolve simple everyday conflict. Every day you're going to face conflict. Mm-hmm. The question is how you're going to respond, right?
Right.
And inside, the quicker you are to respond with aggression, the quicker you win. But out here, the quicker you fail.
Correct.
Right.
So yeah, it's a lot of young people that they're not aware of the consequences. They want to do stuff fast. They want to get money fast. But then when they go to their sentencing and the judge slam that gavel down and they get all those years, they cry, they look, and that it's great that you are doing this program so people can be aware, and then you can also help those ones re-enter that are coming home.
My mom always told me we would drive by Oakland County Jail and she would cry and she'd say, I don't want you to fall into the hands of these people because I won't be able to save you. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, like I said, it fundamentally, I started transitioning and I started transforming. I started evolving when I stopped looking out the window and started looking in the mirror. Okay. You can only blame mom and daddy so long.
Right.
But at the end of the day, when you start believing that what you went through is exactly what you need to become that what you were designed to become, that's faith. Mm-hmm. Right? You can't succeed and become the best version of Kim without understanding that everything that Kim went through is exactly what Kim needs to go through to become what Kim needs to become, to manifest what Kim needs, because it ain't about Kim. You're designed by a manufacturer, right? Mm-hmm. And the better you get in tune with who you are and plugged into the source, the better you understand what you need to do, what you need to read, who you need to be around. You are a goddess, right? Creating the image and likeness of God. So the onus and the responsibility is for Kim to create, mm-hmm. right? For Kim to create. That's it. So my transition, really, I'll be honest with you, solitary confinement was pressure that I needed, okay. Right? It was pressure I needed. The years in prison was the polish. And since I've been home, I've been getting cut.
All right. And tell me about how the fulfillment, how it feels when you actually help the youth and then they receive it. I know that feels great.
Yeah, the intrinsic value. It's what motivated me to let go and let go of what I had in my hand in prison. Mm-hmm. You got to understand something. Like, I lived good in prison. I started a vending machine business the last 6-7 years. I was inside, which helped my mom helped me, right? Obviously to manage it and send me money and whatnot. But I lived, I was balling in prison, right? So unfortunately, right? But I helped a lot of people. Okay. But what I did was I wasted a lot of time and focus. I was a self-serving critical thinker. Okay. Right? I was a self-serving. Meaning, like, if I could make $1 out of 15 cents, I did. Like, you asked me why I get kicked out of prisons. I'll be honest with you. The criminal mind, the human mind, right, can rationalize any misdeed. Right? So I rationalized me trafficking drugs in every institution until obviously I was transformed. But I rationalized it, saying you're going to pay me $30 a month. I'm going to traffic drugs in your institution. Right? I'm going to run poker tables. I'm going to do everything I can, once again, to make $1 out of 15 cents. Right? But I rationalized that. But once I felt that intrinsic value of being able to pour into others, right? Being a light unto the darkness. Like, when I felt that, I let all the other stuff go. Okay. Right? I let it go, and what it did was
a burden lifted.
Well, it positioned me to have more influence over that which I had more value now. Mm-hmm. Which was influencing, at the time, those 17, 25-year-olds in prison that were causing the most mayhem, right? Mm-hmm. Out here, it's what drives us. It's what fuels us. Every day I try to make up for what I did to my victim Samuel, right? Every day. And so what I do is I never keep count. I never keep score. I never say, well, I saved him last week. I say, no, every day it's a tabla blanca, a blank slate, right? Every day. Let's go save one more. Come on, let's go fish and let's say, like, it's free. It's free to make people feel good about themselves. Mm-hmm. So how dare you just be quiet and be in your own feelings, right? Like, every time Jesus was tempted in the desert, he didn't say, oh, I don't feel this or I don't feel that. He said it is written. right? It is written. It is written. So it ain't about how you feel. So once I stopped getting in my feelings and stopped blaming mommy and daddy, that's when I started becoming the God that I am.
Out of all the prisons that you were in, what was one of the worst ones?
The worst? Like, how do you define worst? Because
like the conditions.
The conditions? Oh, man. Okay.
With people.
Brooks level 4 in 1999 was filthy. It was Brooks. That's in Muskegon.
Okay.
Muskegon. Oh, man. Brooks was horrible.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually went to the whole for rioting that year. That wasn't a good year. But I, as far as the filth, the way the staff treats you, well, the way the staff treats you, let me put it this way, up at IRF, it was Kinchlow. IRF is URF. It stands for Upper Regional Facility, but when you get there, they say, welcome to UR.
Okay.
UR, you know what I'm saying? URF.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were literally killing guys there. I mean, you talking about civil rights violations. At the time in 1999, I got sent up there. I did an 8. As soon as I got there, they put me in solitary confinement. I served almost a year in solitary, right? My uncle, my father's brother, was working as city councilman in Pontiac.
Okay.
And so he would meet with Governor Engler at the time, Governor Engler's aides. And he couldn't get me out of solitary. At the time, the aides said I was incorrigible, meaning I couldn't be reformed, and that they send prisoners to this facility to break them. That was verbatim his words, to break them. Wow. So the staff at this facility was basically, the leash was taken off of them, and they were not only taken off them, but they were prodded and guided to break us. So whether you're like Melanics and Muslims, Moorish sites of America, the nation, and you're talking about even Aryan Nation, and you're talking about Latinos would all get together and riot against the staff because they just hated everybody. The staff hated every prisoner they hated. So and to civil rights violations, you see stuff on TV right now. I'm ecstatic that there's a prowess and a passion now for criminal justice reform. I'm ecstatic, right? Mm-hmm. But this is something that we've been doing for decades now. And they are suffering in these prisons. And guess what? 95% do get released. So it behooves all of us to understand exactly what kind of neighbor you're going to have bagging your groceries, or for those who live in the suburbs are going to be, pulling your ticket and put it in your car when you go to the Tigers game. So this isn't insular. You're not protected from this. I mean, the social fabric we're talking about extends across the nation. So it doesn't matter where you at, whether you're in Birmingham, Alabama, or Birmingham down here, Birmingham, Royal Oak area, or you in downtown east side Detroit. Like, you are not safe from the residual effect of what's going on in our criminal justice system.
Okay, so another question for you. I know you are successful with reaching out to some of the people that are in there, and then they actually change. But how do you handle those that are not receiving? Like you try to help them, but they're just not listening.
I learned long ago. Kim, that's a good question. I got a buddy of mine, a mentor of mine who trained me, Lucy Barra. He used to always make fun of me because he said I was too soft.
Okay.
But now, hey, no given, none given, right? Because I learned inside that my job isn't to make sure that the seed grows. My job is just to plant it.
Okay.
I plant seeds and let the Spirit water. I pray on it, but I do not get attached emotionally. Once again, emotional intelligence, right? Mm-hmm. I don't get attached to the product because you know why? It ain't about me.
Okay.
It ain't even about me, because once you start allowing your emotions and feelings get into play, what you're really doing is allowing your ego get in the way. It ain't about me. So what you plant, like for example, I had many mentors in my life. Like my stepfather, he planted seeds galore within me, and he there's some seeds that have blossomed. He has yet to see it. He hadn't even had the opportunity. So what I want to impart upon all mentors and all trainers and all teachers is just sow the seed without remorse.
Okay.
Because there might be decades, you might die and never see the blossoming of that seed, but guess what? You planted it. It ain't about credit. You don't need to get credit, right? Mm-hmm. Just do the work. So I don't lose hope anymore. I used to get real sensitive. Man, not anymore. My daughter's especially training me now. She'll smack the crap out of me after I give her a toy. You gotta let it go and say, please don't hit me.
Right. So, how can a person order your book? Is it on?
It's on Amazon right
Amazon?
now. Yep, it's got the e-version. It's what is the
Ebook.
Yeah, ebook,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also on Amazon right now. And it will be available soon with signed, personalized copies on my website. Once again, I'll have your author copy. I'm getting author copies soon, so you can check it out.
Okay.
And once again, it behooves all those who are impacted by the criminal justice system, those who are helping those with reentry, those who have some stake in it. I would suggest you do not have to necessarily be incarcerated. But if you are dealing with an incarcerated individual or individuals, I would highly suggest definitely trying to get some insight in what they are going to go through or what they are going through as they reintegrate.
Okay. So if a church or youth group, any type of organization wants to reach out to you guys, they just go to your website.
Well, you can go to my website, mariofbueno.com, or you can go to my social media, Mario Reform Expert.
Okay.
You can hit me up in the social media and the Instagram.
Okay.
I believe it's Mario_Reform_Expert
Okay.
Mario Bueno Reform Expert on Facebook. Message me, and we can see.
And I'll have it posted as well, your information.
Appreciate that. We see how we can help. Once again, all I can say is that we're dealing with a population that's experienced a lot of trauma, and the challenges that each one is facing is normal. And it's important that not only you know that, but they know that. Thank you. Thank you, Kim.
Mm-hmm. So what would be your final thoughts or takeaways?
Well, I'll be honest with you. My final thought, I just thought about thanking Adrienne Tonon for obviously connecting us.
Okay. Hey, Adrienne.
My final takeaway is that regardless of what's going on with this COVID crisis, like your office is like off the chain. Like you are entrepreneur galore. You feel me? So what I'm saying is like no matter what, just get active. I told you in this interview, I said it's not philosophy, it's physics. An object in motion stays in motion. And an object at rest stays at rest. So get moving.
All right. So again, all his social media information will be posted and website as well. Thank you very much. And this interview will be on my YouTube channel at Electric Elevation Podcast. Thank you very much. Peace.
Deuces.